Hey everyone, this is D, Movieman, fellow cinephile, popcorn addict, and emerging film critic, coming to you with reliable recaps, reviews, and reactions. And today I am coming to you all with a review for Fear Street Part 2, 1978, directed by Leigh Janiak, and starring Sadie Sink, Emily Rudd, and Ryan Simpkins. Of course, this is the second installment in the Fear Street trilogy, and this time we have jumped back into the 1970s, following the story of C. Berman, the sole survivor of the witch, as she explains her traumatic and horrifying experience at Camp Nightwing. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the pros. This definitely stepped it up a notch for me, and I could definitely see some improvements from the first film. This was a lot more effective for me as a complete story and film compared to the first. There's definitely still some cracks here, but I actually found myself a lot more invested this time around. I like that this installment was a lot more self-aware. I felt like this film did a better job balancing the darker aspects of the story, along with the quirkier, darkly comedic aspects also. And of course, I love the 70s throwback vibes. That's always a fun era to recreate and recapture. And I also like the obvious Camp Crystal Lake vibes we got here, with Camp Nightwing as a central setting. The violence was definitely a lot more brutal, a lot more in your face. I had to catch my breath a couple of times because I was not prepared. But it definitely was a step up in my opinion. I also enjoyed seeing the origins of a couple of characters here. I like how that was incorporated into the story. It definitely had me like, okay. And I really enjoyed that because naturally that helps round out a lot of what we saw story-wise in the first film. I really enjoyed Sadie Sink and Emily Rudd as Ziggy and Cindy Berman. To me, their relationship and their connection worked for me here. I was able to appreciate the obvious conflicts in their relationship. You know, Ziggy as the younger, rebellious sister, and then Cindy as the straight-laced, perfectionist older sister. It's definitely a dynamic we've seen before, but I actually appreciated seeing that here. And I also enjoyed the dynamic of them having to work through a very traumatic past and really having to learn a lot more about each other and see each other with new eyes as they continue on this journey amidst some very terrifying and horrifying circumstances. I even liked Cindy's journey as someone who was very structured and very rigid, and then all of that completely having to go out the window as all you know what breaks loose. I was actually surprised by how invested I was in their relationship, and the ending was surprisingly sad for me. Even knowing what was going to happen, I just think like it really kind of hit me in a way I didn't expect. And although it was just a little piece towards the end, I appreciated they were actually able to tug on my heartstrings a little bit because that doesn't come easily. And then also, regardless of the genre, I always enjoy when there's some kind of archaeological piece involved in the story. So if it's an ancient tomb, ancient burial ground, a crypt, and a cave, and that factors into the story some kind of way, I'm always into that. And so I like the point in the film where we got into that, because there's also that part of me, as I've said plenty of times before, that appreciates the mystery within horror. So I like that as we were exploring this place, we were filling in the gaps in regards to Shadyside and its origins and what this place was and how it really factored into this dark legacy that has infected Shadyside. I must say, we get a very sickening discovery in that particular part of the film, and it was kind of stomach churning, I must admit. I was like, wait a minute, what is this right here? I think the design of that was right on target. It was very unexpected, but I think it was very well designed and put together. And that cliffhanger at the end was absolutely unexpected, and it immediately got me hyped for the third installment. I was like, I'm ready. So I think they did a great job setting that up as well. All right, now I'm gonna go ahead and jump over to the cons. Now, I did enjoy this a lot more than the first installment, but I also noticed some very familiar flaws here as well. So, although I was a lot more invested this time around, I have to say still, pacing-wise, this did not move the way I needed it to. It felt kind of sluggish, and I felt like we really weren't getting to the point quickly enough. Not that I wanted it to feel rushed, but it also just felt like it was taking just a little too long to get to where it needed to go. Outside of Ziggy and Cindy, there really wasn't a whole lot with the other characters that I was all that interested in or invested in. I get what we were trying to do with those characters and some of the relationships, and I'm not mad at that. And ultimately, a lot of these characters are just there to be sliced and diced. You know, that's just what it is. However, I just think the characters could have been just a little bit more developed, or they just could have worked differently than I felt that they did here. And although I don't necessarily expect to be outright scared and frightened by these films, I still felt like with the premise, especially with the setting and all that, it definitely lacked a lot of suspense and tension. That was really something that was absent here. I never really felt worried or scared for anyone, and I never really felt that sense of like dread, like, uh-oh. It was kind of like, okay, everyone's gonna die now. And then lastly, although I am a big suspension of disbelief person, probably more than most, there was something here at the end that had me kind of scratching my head. And without spoiling it completely, I'll just say that it is something related to cardiopulmonary resuscitation. I won't say that I know the ins and outs of that, but I was looking at the screen like, I'm not sure that's how that works, but okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and give Fear Street Part 2, 1978 a C+. This was a step in the right direction. I thought it was a pretty big improvement from 1994, but it's clear that as far as the direction, we haven't found our footing quite yet. I understand what it's trying to be and I appreciate what it's trying to be, but we still need some fine tuning. It's just not what it needs to be just yet. But I will admit that I am very much enjoying the journey getting there. And of course, as I said, the way this ended, I am absolutely hyped for part 3. And I am really excited to see what this final installment is going to bring us. Fear Street Part 2, 1978 is currently streaming exclusively on Netflix. You guys feel free to check it out, leave your thoughts below, and let me know what you think. So, once again, this is D, Movieman, signing off. And I'll see you at the movies.